Welcome in. Good afternoon. It's the Ticket Punchers here on 96.1 FM, 1450 AM, Big X Sports Radio. I'm your host, Roman Kelly, joined today by my co-host, Curtis Phillips, a.k.a. Philly Picks, as we take you down till 6 o'clock as we do here on the Big X, Tuesday through Friday. Philly, how are you today, sir? How are you doing?
Going good, Roman. Doing good. As you see, I got my Bears game on. I'm already excited for Sunday. And I'm just ready for today's show, so I'm doing well. How you doing today, my man?
Doing great. Had a long day in the studio today as the afternoon shows were out at Bootleg Barbecue. And, me and Matt Childress, we kind of alternate whether or not he's the person in the studio for those 12 to 6 kind of days. And then I'm out there on scene like we did the Window World thing last week at the Kentucky Exposition Center. We flip-flopped, so I was in the studio today. Long day of producing for me, not as much talking, but that's all good. Saving it all for the Ticket Punchers. That's what we're doing here today. Philly, I'm excited because it's Friday, and we've got a lot to get into. There's a lot to chat about. There's all things happening this weekend pretty much, basketball, football related. I guess college football playoff is technically on Monday, but we don't have a Monday radio show, so we've got to get all of our predictions on that out as well on these Friday shows. And I'm just excited. I'm excited to get into it all. Talk about how it's all going to shape up, both in the NFL, college basketball this weekend, and, of course, that championship game on Monday night. Before we do that, I want to let the listeners know that we want their thoughts, we want their comments, we want their concerns, questions, whatever it may be, stories, topic ideas, bets that you're going to be placing tonight, bets you want us to discuss and get some discussion on. If you have any of those, send them in on our Game Day Men's Health text line at 502-414-1450. Game Day Men's Health is redefining men's wellness. No shortcuts, just results, testosterone, peptides, weight loss, and sexual performance therapy. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com, defining a new era in men's health. All right, Mr. Philly Picks, let's get into it. Let's chat. We've got a lot we can look into. I do kind of first, let's just go sport by sport, all right? Because it's going to be more of a discussion-based kind of a day. I wanted to chat with you about the hockey plays from last night. We hit the Penguins on their home money line going up against the Flyers at home. Walk us through how you were viewing hockey last night with the official punch you gave out.
Yeah, we had Bruins 3-way money line, so the 60-minute money line to win in regulation, not in overtime. And that ended up cashing. They won 4-2 versus the Kraken. This was a very good game, actually. They got off to a 2-0 start pretty early. It was 2-0 after about 5 minutes. Then the offense kind of slowed down a little bit. And really, the power play, they got in a few penalties, which led to power play goals for the Kraken. But they led the entire way. Kraken would cut the lead to 1 and then, couldn't really get over the hump there. So they end up cashing with a late empty net goal. So that was good.
That was nice. They do, yeah. The only 2 goals the Kraken were able to score were both on those power plays, but the Bruins did give themselves a cushion, and they got that decisive goal there to go up 4-2. Great call, great pick, great punch on the Bruins last night, Philly. We had the Penguins, and it looked like the Penguins were going to make this one really ugly. At one point, they were up 4-1, then they were up 5-1, and then it quickly was 6-1 in that third period. We kind of knew that the bet was safe from that point. They were only minus 140 on the money line straight up. A Philadelphia Flyers team though that has been struggling in the last handful of games defensively or offensively. They're not figuring it out. They don't have that cohesion like some of the other top teams have. And when they go on the road, you can kind of take advantage of that. Some of these lines, though, I don't know what the answer to this question is, Curtis, and I want to ask you because why will two hockey teams be playing? One team's clearly a better team than the other, more goals. They've conceded less goals. They've won more games. They're on their home floor, and the money line will be minus 130 for them to win. What's up with all of the close lines for some of these NHL matchups? Do you know what goes into that? I can't really figure it out. I know that they play a lot, and the lineups change. And I also learned in the last couple of years, like, how important your starting keeper is if you have a good starting keeper. And sometimes that can be the whole difference, right? This team is they've got a 68% win percentage when their starting keeper plays, but when there's not the starting keeper, they're below 500 kind of situations. Is it really that simple with some of these NHL lines?
It's easier said than done. Like, hockey's always tricky. I go a lot off trends with hockey. I don't know the too in-depth, injuries and things like that. So a lot of times I go off trends, and a lot of times or half the time still that doesn't even work. So it's sometimes tough to read, where it's just an inconsistent, I think, in hockey. So yeah.
There's a lot of inconsistencies. One of the things whenever people bring up NHL, I was like, yeah, I'll bet NHL, but there's one thing I say every time: hockey is the most unforgiving sport. It doesn't matter how you're betting it or how you're even just as a fan of a team. If you as a team who's consistently going up against teams that they're better than, you're going to lose some of those. That's part of the sport. When you play so many games, the games are so intense. You have so many different guys on the team that can play. I know that there's those starting unit guys and those kind of first team kind of players that teams utilize for majority of their games, but there's still different lineups, different goalies, different situations. Some teams have a bigger home crowd than the others, right? And you kind of have to know that stuff to consistently have some success with betting the NHL. I like to follow the trends as well. What is this team done in their last 10 games on their home floor versus this team in their last 10 games on the road, right? Those can kind of give you a good idea, right? And then you look into make sure the starting keeper is playing for the team that you're betting. And if it's their home team and they're a good team, that's kind of the ways that I look into it. But I've also just learned in the last couple of years, it can be extremely, extremely unforgiving. I wanted to see if you had any insight on that. We'll maybe kind of learn some of those insights together as we go forward here. But we don't give the NHL hardly any love on the Ticket Punchers, and we've been taking a couple of props recently. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out. Philly, the top 25 in the NCAA basketball right now it's ramping up. It's ramping up. We're starting to see some teams look really good, elite. We're starting to see some of their players get really into that mode in the season now because it's the halfway point. Whatever your offense is doing, whatever your defense is doing, whatever the key players for your team are doing, if you're figuring it out, that typically starts happening right now. And we've been getting a lot of high level NCAA basketball matchups. And that's kind of where I want to start the chat today, because while we don't have very many tonight, there's a lot of top 25 teams in action. Chat with us about the weekend of college basketball, Philly. Who are you watching? What games are you looking forward to watching just for the sake of two top teams playing or a team that hasn't faced this kind of level of talent? And then kind of talk us through where you're looking at to make your punches as well.
Yeah, so tonight actually not Kentucky, Kansas is at home again versus their rival in Baylor. Kansas has been playing a little bit better down the stretch since conference play has started, and they get one of their best player back today in Darren Peterson. So I expect them to win tonight and get back into that top 25 match, or in the top 25 where they usually reside at with Bill Self and that team. So I'll be in tune for that matchup tonight. And then I actually do have a punch in tonight's slate. It's DePaul and Marquette. Marquette's a full fade for me all season.
All season long. We discussed this in the
Yeah.
Running with Roman show today with Matt Childress as we were discussing our picks for our Big X Big Bets. That's what we call those in the Running with Roman show, where we both just give one particular pick out every day. Not a lot of discussion on it, but just right at the end of the show. I've been fading Marquette all year. You have as well. Are we worried about the controversy in the discussions and the FBI stuff with DePaul coming out being the biggest school in that betting scandal that we didn't actually get into and discuss all that much? We'll give some more details about that in a minute, but we now know that DePaul is a team that has actively been involved with the point shaving scandal with players within these teams, kind of the biggest school to be in that kind of talk. So are you worried about that at all tonight?
Not really, honestly, Mark. Like I said, Mark, this is just a fade on Marquette, a team that hasn't just been losing, but they have not been covering any number. 0-5 on the road. They've only covered 2 of their last 10 games, so it's a slight worry, but I'm not digging into much of that in my analysis on this game. Marquette's been awful. They won't even be eligible for the NIT after the season, which is crazy. This is the team that's been pretty good for most of our lives, Roman.
Tournament team last year.
Yeah. So that I don't have too much worry in the scandal. I'm taking DePaul -3.5, -115 as my first official punch for tonight's college basketball slate. But as far as the slate goes on the week, Kentucky goes on the road to Tennessee tomorrow. I think that line's a little bit too short. I haven't checked.
Really?
Yeah, maybe I need to check some injury reports. I know one of Tennessee's front court guys, he's been out a few games. Even without him, I think Tennessee should be able to handle Kentucky coming off that buzzer beater win. So that's one of the games I'm eyeing for this weekend slate.
I like that. I think the line's interesting at 5.5. I need to look into the injury report on this one, or at least what's been said about some of the injuries in this one, Philly, because I mean, while Tennessee's looked iffy against good teams, this UK team has struggled against good teams. I mean, you were a missed shot away from losing to that LSU team that would have been maybe one of their worst losses on the season, if not the worst loss. You look at what happened against the Alabama, a team that's not great defensively. They struggled, though. They've just not been good at defending good teams either, right? And I kind of worry about the Cats in this one. I say I worry. I want them to lose. I don't care if they lose. But for the sake of people that are trying to bet Kentucky in that +5.5, I'm not too sure. I mean, yes, Tennessee has lost a couple of games. Yes, they've dropped some few. They've also got back to playing. I mean, they've showcased already that they can play a really, really high level. Offensively, I'm not the big believer in Tennessee. But when they've got that overwhelming size and skill out on the perimeter with Gillespie going up against a Jalen Lowe-less team in Kentucky and then a team that doesn't also have Jaden Quaintance down low, without Jaden Quaintance down low, how are you going to combat what Tennessee does in the interior? Their play, get to the paint, bull rush this team, don't let them stop you, get to the rim, you're going to get those free throws calls, and that's going to open up shots from there. It's an ugly brand of basketball, but it works, right? If you have the right athletes, Tennessee this year does – more times than not, depending on the matchup, have the right athletes. So give me Tennessee on them. I'm gonna go ahead, Philly. I'm rocking with you on DePaul. I see 2.5 here. So we'll give you 2.5 on the official punch because that's what I'm still seeing right now. I'm tailing the 2.5. I'm gonna make that an official punch for me as well. That will account to my record, and I'm rocking with Tennessee tomorrow -5.5 on their spread to cover that. I do think that line goes up before tip off tomorrow.
Yeah,
no Jaden Quaintance. No Jaden Quaintance. You're not going to be able to prevent a lot of clean looks down low. You don't have that rim protector consistently. Yeah. Give me Tennessee in that one. The Vols for sure. Kentucky, they just don't have it. They just don't have it. We've got a couple of other big matchups. SMU's not ranked, but they'll be hosting Virginia, a Virginia team that's beaten us and showing that they're looking like they can be a top 15 caliber team. An SMU side that's, if they can string together a couple of wins, they can start biting at that top 25 too. I don't think that they're very, very far off from it. There's not a lot of crazy matchups. Alabama and Oklahoma going at it as well. Alabama 5.5-point favorites on the road. The total in that one's sitting at 171.5, Philly. Call me crazy, but I like the under there. I like the under 171. Oklahoma, when they get things going, they can defend somewhat. They're a pretty average defensive team, I think. Alabama, I think, is a little shaky on the road. Can be a little bit shaky on the road. They did just handle Mississippi State on the road, but they lost to Vanderbilt. They've dropped their fair share of games too. I get Arizona's that was a neutral court game. It's a situation there with the number one team in the nation, but I think that this one could stay interesting. I think that 171 is just a little bit high. I think that one finishes more in that 165 range. Not going to be an official punch, just a jab on another play in the weekend of college basketball. How about these cards, though, Philly? I wanted to ask you how you're feeling about Louisville having dropped that game against Virginia. Not looking like the cards we really want them to look like based on all the talk coming into this season. A lot of that had to do, though, with Michael Brown and him being out, or him and being that point guard for us, of that ceiling elevator for our offense. He hasn't been there for us to be that in these last handful of games, and we don't really think he's going to be back for this one tomorrow. We're kind of hoping, projecting as fans, as guys in the media, based on what we read and hear, that sometime in the next couple of weeks he should be good to go. Doesn't seem like we're going to have him for this Pitt game tomorrow. You think Louisville can still get the job done without Michael on the road?
Yeah, I think the key here is if we have Kennard Roofs in, that'll be a big help on the defensive side. But I have not been impressed with this team. I don't think the books have really adjusted to Michael being out for us, because I've been confused at some of these lines they've been having for our team. When we don't have the shots falling, we really struggle to score the ball. And then I think, as Ryan Conwell said in a press conference this week, when those shots are not falling, it affects us on the defensive end as well. So, yeah, if Roofs is in, I'll feel a little bit more confident about us winning. Without him, then maybe a stretch. But, yeah, we got to get the shots falling.
If Kenai can play at full health in this one, right? I know he was an illness that was keeping him out, so he could maybe be dealing with some physical things, right? We don't know if that was immune system, if that was respiratory system. We have no idea. That could have took him off practice for a few days. It probably did. If he's still in, ready to go and ready to run, I think you got to throw him out there. Defensively, it showed in the Virginia game just how important he can be for our bench unit, or even some lineups out there where we need that size and versatility. He's the only really option we have. We can't rely on Case and Pryor anymore. So, I shouldn't say anymore. We haven't been able to rely on Case and Pryor consistently yet, especially not as a defender. So he's still taking time to get active with that knee and get right and get back to what his true self. Will he do that in a timely manner and before the season's over? I don't know. ACLs on big guys are different. It's different for every human being, for one. But for athletic, tall basketball players, it's really there's no certainty on it. And he's clearly having some issues still with his agility and mobility. And he's also kind of not making the best decisions, so he just hasn't been the best defender for us to keep things blunt. But Philly, 6.5-point favorites. Louisville is on the road. We were 4.5-point favorites over Virginia, I think, at the time of game time.
Yeah.
We were favored pretty heftily, or we didn't cover against Boston College either. What were we in that one? 22.5-point favorites in that game.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the Duke game was. I believe it was pretty close. I believe Duke covered in that one. I think it was 8.5 or 9, and they won by 11.
Yeah, last Stanford was Cal. Yeah,
Stanford, we were favored. We lost, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we covered in a single game since Michael's been. Okay, Cal, you're right. We covered against Cal. We covered against. Did he play in that one? Yeah, that was the last game he. Or no, he didn't play in that one. He didn't play in that one.
No, he didn't.
He hasn't played since before the Tennessee game. Memphis was the last game that Michael Brown played in. We did cover against Montana. We covered against California. We have not covered in a single other game that Michael has missed. Naturally, even though I did pick us to win on the radio today, I do believe that we'll win this game. I think it's a narrow victory, like I projected the Virginia to win to be. And when you look at what the Virginia game was after the 14-8 mark, which say what you want about that, it was a nearly evenly based kind of a matchup. It didn't feel like it, but point-wise it was. It's granted, you're dealing with a team that has that cushion, that has that lead. Once they got up to that lead, though, we played them pretty evenly. We didn't play with the same effort and intensity level as them, but I still saw that the flashes of scoring out there for us. Pitt is not the same well-oiled machine by any means that Virginia is. They still have a little bit of offensive prowess, I think, with a couple of their guys. They're not overwhelming, though, with their ability. They're also not overwhelming in their size. They've got a couple of guys that are big, 116 guy that starts. I think there's 168 guy on the bench, but there's not going to be a whole crazy overwhelming amount of size out there. I think this is the kind of game where Javon Hadley should be able to be a versatile defender for us, rather than someone that's like, gosh, I wish there's somebody on the floor that he could be guarding right now that's not this guy, and you feel that way about all four other guys as well. That shouldn't be an issue in this game with Javon Hadley. So ultimately, I do think Louisville wins, but I don't know if Louisville covers. I don't think they do. I'm probably going to lean, especially if it moves to 7.5, I'll probably get on that Pitt 7.5, which I know Louisville fans don't like hearing that, but Louisville just has not been consistently covering. And you have to kind of be prepared for a close, ugly game without Michael Brown, because that's kind of what we get. Just wanted to get a little bit of Louisville chatter out there for our Louisville listeners as well. Let's check in on the Game Day Men's Health text line here. I believe we haven't had anything coming in so far yet. Yeah, nothing coming in yet on the Game Day Men's Health text line. Nothing else in our chat here on our Ticket Punchers chat via X and YouTube. If you want to get your thoughts in, feel free to do so. Philly, your Bears are in action this Sunday. Before we talk NBA tonight and the weekend of NBA, maybe just a couple of points in NBA, let's get our thoughts out on this NFL slate for this weekend. We've kind of been doing it every day this week and last week, but it's that time of year. It's the divisional round in the playoffs. It's what is about to be the most watched sporting events of the year up until the Super Bowl. They're happening this weekend, right? And the lines are close outside of the Seahawks and 49ers. That means it's usually tougher to decide, right? When it's playoff lines that are close, it's close for a reason. If you don't have a fan of a team you're in one of these situations, or if you're not really in tune with what's creating these lines, it can be tough. But I want to see where you're at before we get to the Bears talk. I want to kind of chat about the games that are going to be leading into that. We know we got Seahawks and 49ers. That's kind of been the game that's been discussed about the most, I've heard, on Sunday. How do you feel about these other matchups, Philly?
Yeah, I like Broncos to get the job done versus the Bills.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I know a lot of people are on the Bills, and I have not been fond of really either team. I think they're both slightly overrated. I say that when Broncos are 14-3 with the 1 seed, but I just think they have a lot of fraudulent wins, a lot of one-score, close wins versus not so good opponents. They do benefit from being home. I believe they only have one home loss this whole entire year, but I just not a fan of the Bills' rush defense, the worst of the whole entire league. I believe the keys for the Broncos is to keep the ball in RJ Harvey's hands. If the Jaguars last week would have kept ETN or had kept giving them the ball, I believe they would have won that game. The team averaged 6.7 yards a carry, yet ETN only had 10 carries. So I think they dropped back too much with Trevor Lawrence. I believe they would have won that game. And Bills have to travel now, going down from Jacksonville, traveling 2 time zones now to altitude in Denver. I think that Mile High crowd's going to be rocking. And I do think they find a way to get the job done. So I do think the Broncos win. There was some big news in the Patriots-Texans game today. Nico Collins will be out. So that kind of changes my perspective on that game. I was leaning – Texans was my Super Bowl pick. I had them coming out of the AFC about mid-December. But now without their number 1 target on the outside, that's going to be a tough task, even with the best defense in the league. Yeah, but I think Drake May's been playing well all season at home. We saw C.J. Stroud struggle a little bit in the cold last week, putting the ball on the ground 5 times, so he definitely has to be better. So I lean Patriots in that matchup now. And then my Bears. Coming into the playoffs, the Rams was the team I was most scared to play as a Bears fan. But seeing how both of these teams played last week, I am confident that we get the job done. I think weather is going to be a huge factor. At kickoff, the temperature is going to be around, I believe, 15 degrees. The feel like obviously will be a little bit lower than that. But I saw a cool stat today. Matthew Stafford, he has never played in a game where the temperature at kickoff was less than 20 degrees. And that's crazy from a guy that's been playing, 13, 14 plus years in the NFL. And they play in a dome. So they're not really used to the cold. I think that's going to be a huge factor. And their defense has not been great down the stretch. They've gave up 20-plus points in 6 of their last 7 games. So they've fallen off from how they were at the beginning of the season. I think at home, the Bears, we've been playing great. We've been in every single game down the stretch. I think we find a way to get the job done, but it will be a jab as a Bears plus 3.5. But I'm going to play us on the money line as well, but I think we get it done.
I like it. I think the Bears should get the job done. It's a scary one. All these games are kind of tough, right? Yeah. But the only things that I'm really, really feeling good about are now the Patriots. I think that the Patriots win. I do have Patriots money line, just straight up on the Sunday game at 3:00. I'll make that an official punch now. In the first 2 games, it's tough. I mean, I don't really love the Bills, and I don't believe in Bo Nix. I think that Sean Payton has the edge in that coaching matchup, obviously, but it's just kind of hard to gauge. The Broncos won so many close scoring games that you're kind of like, all right, you're bound to lose one of these, right? And then the Bills on the flip side, Josh Allen, it's like you keep messing up. You keep choking in these kinds of situations. Granted, you finally got that road playoff win in your last matchup. Does he continue it on? It's not really what Josh Allen's really been known for in the playoffs. I think against a team that just kind of lacks that playoff-esque experience, a good handful of the Bills players that are playing have some of that still. I like the Bills ultimately in this one, but I'm staying away as a bettor. What I will be taking in this game, Philly, is the under 46.5. I've watched it move up and down. I've seen down 40, 45.5 on ESPN bet, still at 46.5 on some other sports books. I'm going to make that an official punch for me as well. I think that this one kind of stays a little bit low scoring. I think this is like an ugly 17-13 kind of game, or even like a 20-17 kind of a game. And I think that the Broncos defense is serious. Bo Nix, close game, got to score situations, right? If the defense isn't forcing punts and getting stops and giving Bo Nix consistently good field positioning after good field positioning, can he go and lead you long drive after long drive against that playoff atmosphere, against a team that knows it's a playoff atmosphere and has that kind of experience? I don't know. But I will be taking the under 46 for those reasons. In that one, I don't really love anything in the 49ers Seahawks matchup. I think that Kenneth Walker hasn't failed me all year, Philly. 50-plus rushing on Kenneth Walker. I love that line. The odds on it are up pretty high right now at minus 195, so maybe you kind of see if you can get a couple more yards out of him for better odds. That's going to be my other official punch in the weekend of NFL. Do you have any official player props that you were looking at in any of these matchups?
Yes, I do. I have 3 right on deck in that same matchup between the Seahawks and 49ers. I like Kyle Juszczyk over 1.5 receptions at minus 135. Kittle is out, which was obviously a big piece, their number 1 target. He's hit in 3 straight playoff games, and he's hit in 3 of the last 4 without George Kittle. So I like Kyle Juszczyk to be used in the passing game a little bit. And then I like Christian McCaffrey over 110.5 rushing and receiving yards at minus 110. He's over in 5 of the last 6 games without George Kittle, 12 of 18 on the season, and he's hitting 5 straight playoff games. So I'm expecting 25 to 30 touches for CMC. And then I also love Drake May over 35.5 rushing yards at minus 110. He's a young QB. I think he'll have to use his feet. Mobile QBs have been pretty good versus the Texans. So I think Drake May gets at least 36 rushing yards. So all those are official punches for me.
I like it. I like the Drake May pick for sure. I think that the Texans defensive line is going to force him. They're going to force him out. You see how many times that he's been sacked earlier on in the season as well. The offensive line, it has moments where it's super good, and you would not think that he's the quarterback that gets sacked often because of how much time they give him. But they have their moments where they'll let up, and he's the young quarterback is still not always so prone to getting the ball extremely fast. He has been better about it. But I think they're going to make him use his feet. So I like that play. 35 is kind of steep, but we've watched that number go up and up and up for Drake May all year long, right? It started off in the season, early in the season. I remember it being at like 10 yards at one point, going up to like 15 consistently. It sat at 20 to 25 for a couple weeks, and now he's pretty much over that 30 mark. Now, I love it. I love it. The 4 plays that I'm going to be taking on the weekend, Philly, I've got 3 of those are official punches. I have Christian McCaffrey 50-plus rushing as another prop just because he's going to get the touches. No Kittle, probably going to run the ball a few more snaps than they would have at least in that first half. CMC at minus 158 for 50-plus rushing. I know that he's going to receive the ball in the passing game a good amount as well. I still like him to get that 50 mark in a game in which they're going to try to keep the ball as much as they can, right? And he is going to be the culprit for that. So that combined with Kenneth Walker at 50-plus is plus 158. I also have the under 46.5 with the Bills Broncos on there, and then the Patriots at minus 180 on the money line. That's all at plus 636 on a 4-leg parlay. I'm going to 2-leg McCaffrey and Walker. I'm going to take the under 46 as a straight, and I will play Patriots minus 2.5 as my straight bet, but on a couple of different maybe 2-leg parlays or something like that, or maybe an SGP, we'll play their money line and call that an official play as well. Philly, I love that. Love that. A lot of NFL chatter here. We need to get a text in on the Game Day Mincel text line. It says, love the show, guys. Keep up the good work. We really appreciate that. Montgomery, Indiana texter right there. Fellow, got a Hoosier texting us. Love that. Not really a Hoosier. It's a Louisville fan, but we appreciate you listening and texting into the show here on our Game Day Mincel text line. Philly, before we round out tonight, you got any official punches for tonight in the NBA or college basketball outside of DePaul?
Yeah.
Go ahead and drop those for us.
Yep, I've won in the NBA. Jalen Tyson, been a cash cow for me all season. I've been taking this prop quite a bit. So I'm taking him over 18.5 points and rebounds at minus 115. The key here, Darius Garland is out. He's cashed this in 7 straight games without Garland. There's also no Sam Merrill or Dean Wade. A few spot-up shooters on the end, so I think he gets a lot of minutes tonight. Give me Jalen Tyson over 18.5 points and rebounds. That'll be my last official punch.
All right, Philly, I like that. I did have one in the NBA tonight. I'm going T-Wolves plus 4.5 on the with the Rockets having the back-to-back tonight. I think the Wolves can slip in Houston and grab one in a big kind of playoff team matchup. That's the one NBA play that I was rocking with tonight. The next one was, call me crazy. Is Maxey out? No.
He shouldn't be.
No, he's not. I like the bounce back spot against the Cavs with Maxey. Like I like him to come back to that 25 plus spot. I know that he's been a little bit less, when you have Joel Embiid, you get your full health back with Kelly Oubre. There's a little bit less shooting for Maxey, but he's still getting close to that 25 mark every single time out, if not over. I like that as an official punch tonight with the T-Wolves at minus 196. Philly, we are off the radio right now. Didn't get the true outro to that because we kind of went a little bit further than planned. We are still here on X and on YouTube. I apologize to our listeners that are coming over now from that, though. I wanted to just kind of see. I wanted to see if there's anything else on the weekend that you wanted to kind of get ahead on now while we can, because we do have to chat about this championship game Monday night.
Yes, we do. Give me 1 second.
I didn't have anything in the NBA else that I really, really loved all that much. There was one.
I didn't get in a deep NBA dig today. I'll try to after the show. Real quick with these games coming up.
Okay, hold on here.
You know if Kawhi's out?
He shouldn't be.
Oh, wait, never mind. Yes, yeah, he is. Yep.
He is?
Yeah, I was going to look at him going back to Toronto. But he's out. I was thinking about taking a stab at Harden's under again, but he's cracked me twice this season. But he's going up against a really good defense tonight. His points is at 27.5. I'm leaning under, but I don't
Harden?
think I'm gonna touch it. Yeah.
Yeah. That one's a tough one. Without Kawhi tonight, I like the Raptors to win too.
Yeah.
Raptors money line. Go ahead, make that an official punch for us tonight as well. Raptors money line. We're following. We're rocking with Maxi again, even after the L. Maxi 25 plus, and then we've got T Wolves plus 4.5, which is I think they're gonna win. So why even
I love it. Yeah.
I don't know why I do that to myself. I think it's just because you never know, right? I thought on true basketball reasons, I believed the Lakers were going to win last night. LaMelo Ball had other things in mind, right?
Yeah, he went off fourth quarter. Yeah.
If Alfred Sengun or so, if he wants to go crazy, if he's ready for that, I just think that Rudy Gobert is a good defensive matchup to keep Sengun in check. I need to go look at what it was the last time these two teams played, but on a back-to-back, they're going to be tired legs, and you don't have that defender outside of Amen Thompson.
Yeah, I watched almost all that game yesterday because obviously I had the under, but I mean Rockets, they're struggling right now. They're really their defense is there, but they are really struggling offensively, and you've seen it in they're losing to bad teams as well. They've lost what?
I watched that first quarter. I was like, Philly sniped him on this one with that under.
Oh yeah, I should have teased it down.
And then your Heat messed me up last night,
dude. I feel like every time you pick the Heat, we start off fast and then we end up blowing the game at the end.
Every time I pick the Heat, I'm like, oh yeah, I had the Hero 20 plus in the Heat. Yeah. I've been playing the Hero 20 plus in Heat money line when they're at home as the 2-leg, and one of the two messes me up every time.
Yeah,
I either hit the money line and then Hero doesn't have it, or they lose somehow, some way. And it's like I've been trying to not. I needed to start listening to Vegas. I needed to start listening to Vegas. Mm-hmm. They were 3.5-point favorites for a reason. I'm like, no, Boston doesn't have the offensive firepower on the road to hang with this Miami team. This Miami team's streaky, though, is the issue. They're extremely streaky. They look like the highest powered offense in the league one night, and the next night they look like they don't have a scorer on the team, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's kind of what's tough in that fourth quarter last night. I get Anthony Simons goes crazy, but they just did not have any juice to combat it last night in that fourth quarter. But that's how it is. That's how it is. I gotta figure that out though. Why I get bad luck with the Heat, but it's like tease. It's like, oh yeah, you think the Heat were gonna win? You're right. Look at this brilliant first quarter of play, and then no.
We're one of the hardest teams to kind of predict, even with player props. Like I'm almost done taking Heat player props. You just never know who's going to do what.
All right, let's round the show out, Philly. You know what it is. Miami, Indiana. IU, am I seeing now up to 7.5? Or I guess I should say down to 8.5, 7.5? Or no, 8.5 on FanDuel. ESPN Bet still has them at 7.5. I haven't checked DraftKings yet. Something's telling me take that plus 8.5. It's been screaming my name all week. And then when I bring that up and I say that's been the feeling I have to someone, they're like, oh, no, Indiana wins by double digits.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks Indiana wins by double digits. Like, they're not going to blow them out maybe, but they win by like 10 or 13. And I'm just like, nobody thinks Miami's going to keep this game close. Everybody thinks they're just chalking it up. Carson Beck's throwing 2 turnovers and Indiana's going to play a perfect football game. That's what we're predicting. We're predicting Carson Beck to be Carson Beck and Indiana to be Indiana, and it's that simple?
Yeah, it's not that simple. I'm not mad at you for taking that. And there was a lot of line movement. This started out at like 4.5. That's a big jump. And Miami's they've been proving people wrong all college football playoffs too, you know?
And I know the cornerback's out now, but I like it still, man.
I'm not mad at you. I'm honestly probably not touching the side, even though I lean Indiana minus 8.5. But I think that team total is the way to go. Indiana's team total over 27.5. You've seen every game. They're gonna run it up the score no matter what. It might not be that easy versus this Miami defense, but I think Mendoza and them boys, I think, will find a way to get 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So that ultimately probably is where my official punch will be. Yeah, I'll go ahead and drop that as official punch. Indiana team total over 27.5.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not mad at that Miami look though.
I just think that if they can not turn the ball over and run the ball,
Yeah.
they should keep the ball long enough to not get blown out.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. If they can play the keep away game and actually move the ball on that defense, then they definitely can cover.
I saw like when Miami ran the ball. Who was it in their last game? The
Ole
last
Miss.
match. Ole Miss. Yes. Fletcher got the ball like 4 times, and it looked like it was going to be a 2 or 3 yard run, and then it's all of a sudden an 8 yard run.
Mm-hmm.
And there was that one where it was like, oh, this looks like it was about to be a 6 or 8 yard run. 16 yard run. The O-line gets that push. This is an NFL O-line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like an NFL O-line. If you can get the field general Carson Beck and the quick snap correct decision Carson Beck, if Mark Fletcher runs the ball like that and you get a push from your offensive line like that, the offense can go down there and do those. Wasn't it like, was it Ole Miss? I think Ole Miss had one. Miami had like 2 or 3 super, super long drives against Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Taking away crazy time off the clock.
Yeah.
If you can do that, it's harder to get blown out, is my thing. That's my only thing. Now, if Carson Beck throws an interception in the first half, or if he throws a pick 6 at all, you're giving it, and that's advantage Indiana massively.
Yeah.
Because they take advantage of teams that don't take care of the football. And that's the only, I get where people are coming from, but.
I mean, Beck's been good lately at not turning over the ball. So
yeah, when's his last turnover?
Let's see.
He
I don't know.
He had one against Ole Miss. He threw one against Ole Miss. I can't remember that
right.
for some reason. He didn't have one against Ohio State, and I don't think he had one against Texas A&M. He didn't have to do much against Texas A&M because they ran the ball for 200-something crazy yards like that?
Yeah, that
or
game
175. They ran for 175 yards in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. Just look at this defense. This defense, 16 points before the fourth quarter. Like you allowed 11 points to Ole Miss in that fourth quarter, but before that, it's like 16 points to Ole Miss outside of that fourth quarter, 14 to Ohio State, 3 to Texas A&M. I do think Indiana's going to score, but it shouldn't be anything. It shouldn't be one of those crazy 33 points, 56 points, nothing like that. I don't think this Miami defense is going to allow that to happen. And I think that if they can run the ball long like they did against Ole Miss with some of those 10-minute drives, they could potentially keep it just within that 9-point region.
Yeah.
That's my only real take on that. Mendoza, I mean, he's unreal. They're gonna get the touchdown. They're gonna score. You've seen what he's done his last 3 games. So no ifs, ands, or buts on that. But ultimately, I do pick Indiana to win. I pick Indiana to win by like 7 or like 6 to 7 points. I'm probably going to be wrong. I'm going to cover with it sitting at 8.5. I'm going to take plus 9.5. I'll water that down. Take the plus 9.5. That's probably the only real way I'll bet that one. I don't like the over under on it. So that'll be it. That'll be it on the college football playoff championship game talk there. Philly, anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
Bear down, man.
Go ahead and plug your other show that you do. You've never plugged your show. Go ahead and give your other show a plug and let the listeners know where they can find that if they ever are interested in more Philly Pick content.
Yeah, so me and my buddy, we have a little podcast on YouTube. We post shorts on YouTube, TikTok, and it's Philly and Fred. So it's PHILLY and Fred, FRED. So you can find us, like I said, on YouTube, TikTok. We're also on Instagram as well. So we'll actually be doing a show right when I jump off of here, and we'll get some videos uploaded tomorrow. So lots of good content on there as well.
Philly and Fred, if you want more Philly Pick content, and also at Philly Picks, if you want to go and get whatever free picks Philly's giving out on the handicapping realm, you can do so there, and also see how you can join up on the Discord. But this is going to wrap us up here on the Ticket Punchers. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all so much for listening. No JR today. He had to do some he trains a couple kids in basketball, and he likes to follow their games that they've got that are nearby his house. So he's out watching basketball for one of his trainees tonight. But we'll have him back next week. Philly, let's go punch those tickets, my man.
Punch those tickets.
Actually, before we do that, I want to say Matt just texted me. He said, was not expecting to open the stream and see Curtis in full Bears drip. LMAO, I respect it.
Yes, sir, Matt.
Matt's a big Pats fan, as we all know. But, Philly's going to represent, and we love that about Philly. And you should. When your team's in this kind of spot, that's what it's all about, right?